Yeah, so let's talk about the how. How do we care? Yeah. What do I do when someone comes to me and they're sharing a struggle? They're telling me what they're going through. Can I just be really honest? I have this moment often where I sit with someone, I'm trying to approach them ministry minded. I just want to genuinely love this person. I'm trying to hear them, and they lay out, here's what I'm up against. Here's what I'm experiencing right now. And I have this almost this feeling that comes upon me like, oh my goodness, someone should help this person. And then I have a secondary wave of this awful realization where I'm like, oh God, that person is me. Like I'm supposed to help this person. And it can be just so overwhelming. And that's why we want to take just some time to talk about what are some steps? What are some clear steps in the how? How do we care for people?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the first step is one that doesn't require a lot of our voice because it's just listening. And some of us could use some more practice in this step. I know I just shared about how I am always talking. So, but I want you to think about who in your life does this well. How do you know that they listen well? What do they do? And how you feel when you know that they're really listening to you. And then maybe who do you feel like maybe doesn't do this well, and how that feels for you, how you know that in your body, and how you know that in just the conversation that you're having with them. The cool thing is that we can learn how to listen better. We can learn how to listen well. So a good question to ask yourself is, can you reflect this back to them? Like I said before, we don't want to keep from launching into advice and things like that. But plain and simply, when someone shares something with us, I feel stuck with this. Don't overthink it. It really is simply just restating what they're saying back to them so that they know that you're hearing what they're saying. And so this might look like, I feel stuck in this particular sin over and over and over. And really reflecting back to them is, yeah, I hear you. You feel really stuck in that. That's it.
Yeah, don't overthink it, right?
Don't overthink it.
Reflecting,
that's all it is. Yeah.
It's just capturing what they said and showing them you heard them.
Yeah, yeah. And when we don't reflect how that feels for people, they often will feel unheard, maybe hurt or disappointed, maybe even alone in that. Or maybe, kind of like the stereotypical question, did you hear what I just said? Like we feel that when we don't feel like we're listened to.
This sounds so basic, but when I do marriage counseling, I often am trying to help people do this. And I'll sometimes even point at the husband and be like, can you tell me what she just said? Can you reflect what she just said, right? And there would be like crickets. It sounds so basic, but it's not. It's not easy for a lot of us.
Sure. It's easy to say and not easy to do sometimes. So what a great listener does, though, is not only do they reflect back what you said, but they reflect back what you said with the emotional content that you share. The difference between simply re-saying every single word the other person said versus really connecting to the emotion of what they're saying. So maybe you can hear the difference in these two statements. So if I say to my husband, yeah, you're having a really hard time, that might be reflecting what he's saying. But if I reflect back to him, actually, wow, I can hear that you just feel really burdened by what you're going through, and that just feels really hard for you. And you said you feel really alone in that. There's so much difference to that than there is to just simply, this is really hard for you. And so when we can really sense the emotional tone of what people are sharing with us, and we don't have to come up with extra words, but really just empathizing with that and kind of restating what they're saying in that same tone can really go a long way for that reflective listening. When we listen really, really well, is that people actually will talk more.
Yeah, they end up talking more.
Yeah.
Why is that? Yeah.
I think it's just because they feel heard and that you're creating that space of safety for them and letting them know that you're really paying attention and just really being intentional about wanting to hear from them, that it gives them that invitation and that freedom to move more into what they're feeling and all of that.
Yeah. When I hear this, I know as a counselor, reflecting is like one of the basic things you learn, but this is not a counselor thing. Yeah. I have some fear and trepidation when I do teaching on good listening. I just imagine my wife is here or somewhere hearing that I am teaching other people how to listen well and what her response would be. But this is basic stuff that you need for relationship, right? Mm-hmm. But if you can, through good listening, give someone the sense that you're with them, you will successfully bear the burdens of other people. Mm-hmm. And that's really the message. And that's when I want to say the second step, the thing we need to convey to people is I'm with you. Mm-hmm. I shared that I walked through a really difficult season where I just felt very alone. I remember there was a night, that first night, I said we went through some group counseling, that I was with a bunch of strangers. Mm-hmm. And I showed up that first night and I had lost my job and I had broken, I had shared things with my wife that I thought were not going to allow me to put my marriage back together. I was totally willing to, I was not willing, I was ready to hear news, terrified to hear news that we would lose our next baby. Mm-hmm. And all the men that I respected, all the men I feared, knew my worst stuff about me. Mm-hmm. And I remember I walked in that night, and I didn't say much. I was in that group of guys, I didn't say much. But at one point, the guy leading this group turned to me, and he said, where are you at right now, Josh? And I shared all these things, and I just said, I feel really lost. I feel like I'm in this valley and I'm totally alone and I don't know how I'm going to get out. And he says, but we're with you. Mm-hmm. We're with you in this, a bunch of strangers. And just hearing that was so meaningful to me. Didn't know any of these guys, but him saying, we're with you, you're not alone in the valley, just meant so much. So that's what we want to convey to people. Yeah. Is just, I am with you, you're not alone. And it will be in those moments really meaningful, like it was for me.
And that really reminds me of the verse that you shared earlier, that we comfort people with the comfort that we ourselves have received. And so just what a beautiful way to kind of sit with people and kind of draw from that well. Mm-hmm.